This is Left Face. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Left Face. I am your co-host, Dick Wilkinson, and I am joined today with Adam Gillard. How's it going, Adam?
I'm doing good, Dick. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is the Veterans Podcast in the Pikes Peak region, where we talk about political topics through a progressive lens. And this week has been a pretty dramatic week in the world of veterans news. Not just so much, the national topics we usually talk about, but some direct, military and veteran related stuff. So that's what we're going to be on today.
The first thing you were talking about is that the bill where they got it through in an interim bill that mentioned taking medications into factor when deciding ratings and stuff like that. And before we get into it, the reaction that I saw from people, like just in the chats that we were in alone,
Sure.
Even like some quiet chats, just blew up. People, as soon as you saw this, folks were just irate. It's just a ridiculous thing. So
nothing about it made sense.
Yeah. So
outrage was easy.
Yeah. What did you? So what was the bill about first?
So I want to clarify, it was an interim rule, which is it issued by more of an administrative body and not necessarily like a committee out of Congress, right?
Okay.
Like a Veterans Affairs committee. That's not where it came from, as far as I know. So I don't know who is authorized. The secretary of the VA is probably who's authorized to issue interim rules, right? Or some body of people that works for him.
Yeah.
And so that's where the original, bombshell came from, was out of the VA's official communication channels, right?
Yeah, and I think that is where the responsibility lies, is at the secretary of the Collins, I think his name is, because he was the one that came back out and halted it too. So it was probably him that had to initiate it. If he's the one that halted it.
Yeah, as far as I know. And so like you said, the reaction was swift and overwhelmingly unanimous, regardless of political affiliation. All of the veteran service organizations of ESOs like VFW and American Legion and DAV, everybody got hot, within
quickly,
24 hours. And, I guess we should take a moment and just talk about what exactly the rule was about, right? And so I'll explain that for our listeners if they've somehow been under, a rock this week, or,
there's so many other things.
I know, that's what I was going to say. But I actually have talked to two different people this week. There's I'm not watching the news anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So they might not know about this. The interim rule in detail was veterans right now that have, a high enough disability rating that they get some kind of payment and that they're offered medical benefits from the VA. They are rated currently they're rated based on their worst day of symptoms for a physical or mental ailment.
Yeah.
And that should be able to be observed by a physician that is either a direct VA doctor or an outsourced, specialist. And then they write that into the report and then it goes to an adjudicator.
Yeah.
The process now does not take into account that if you have a really effective medication regimen and it gets you to a point where you're able to work or you have a relatively normal quality of life, that right now, that has nothing to do with how you get paid or rated. The change was they wanted to direct physicians and adjudicators to ask, how does the medication affect your illness? And if your rating scores, whether it's a range of motion or like a depression score, if those improve enough, we're going to take away your disability pay because you should be in the workforce and you're not disabled anymore.
Right.
Never mind that I've already been adjudicated. You've already earned this thing.
Yeah.
And I say earned, you got damaged, right? Like you earned it by doing your job, but your job took more than what the original contract had offered, right?
Yeah.
And so this is just reconciling your original contract, That's really all it is.
Yeah. And, Republicans for a long, long time, they haven't supported veterans through, things like the PACT Act and things like that. And I think people need to really wake up to this because, on some of the message boards that I saw, folks were saying, regardless of who, you voted for, this pisses off everybody, and things like that. But at the same time, they wrote this down. Like if you voted Republican this time around,
Mm,
like this was coming. It was on the wall. They said that they were going to do this.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I Googled that and looked up details and found references to, just see it for myself. I believed it.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's in Project 2025.
yeah,
Like
and
it's there. You know what I'm saying?
and
This
so
specific thing,
yes,
reduce veteran benefits for disability,
yeah,
like black and white,
yeah,
figure out a way to reduce disability payouts.
yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
And but again, this is something that was called out. And so now when I'm arguing with people and they're like, I know that they voted for Trump, and so I know that they're a veteran that's going to be affected by this. And they're like, well, it's not because they, voted for Trump. It's like you did this to yourself. You were just shooting yourself, and it's been like this for so long, and people are so hosed by the propaganda that Republicans take care because they give you, a 2% raise every year. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then they also send you to war for 20 years and don't give a shit about you on the back end.
Yeah, right.
So people are just so snowed by the propaganda right now that it just amazes me that they don't realize that they authored their own demise on this, because this ruling also that's been paused is just that it's been
Paused.
paused.
Exactly.
They're going to wait for that to die down and they're going to put it back in.
There'll be some way to continue to move the ball, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, right? You're absolutely right. There's 3 more years of opportunity to try and keep chipping away at this, right?
Yeah.
So if the interim rule's not how they're going to get it done, they'll barrel it into something else,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There'll be some other bill where there's a shutdown warning coming,
Right.
and then it'll show up as a poker chip, and they'll be like, "Got it. We get to flip the script on this, right?" And
Yep.
then somebody will give up on whatever the fight is, and it'll just, like you say, slide in with 25 other pork barrel dumb things.
Right. Because we know like Democratic leadership at the top doesn't fight tooth and nail for every issue.
Right.
They give up on things, and something like this I could see them giving up on, pretty easily to focus on something bigger, or something that affects everybody.
Right. Oh, well, we had to give that up, and we'll fight for it next time, and we'll fix it, in a couple of years, blah, 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 right? No, that's not acceptable. So, as we said, everybody that heard about it, blue, red, veteran, not veteran, just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Right? And the storm of feedback from every direction, other than weren't very many Congress people like that. There's a lot of silence in the House, I guess I should say.
I can't remember who it was I saw, but I did read one congressperson as a woman. She said that she's already heard from veterans saying that they're going to stop taking their medication.
Yeah, I heard other people joking about that. Like, I just canceled all my meds so that they can keep their disability.
Yeah, because like if I stop taking Motrin,
it gives you an incentive to get hurt and stay. Or get hurt, stay hurt.
Yeah,
so that you can get paid.
Yeah,
because you really can't work.
Right. So, yeah. Like arthritis is crippling. Like I remember picking up something one time and I felt my middle of my back pop like a zit, inside of my back.
Yeah.
So like my back's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And like to sit there and think like you might, to reduce my benefits, because I take enough Motrin to like make myself be able to walk, 5,000 steps a day without crying. And now you want to reduce my benefits because I can work again. That it's just so insulting to everybody.
It is. Yeah. And I don't see anybody, like you were saying, picking a bone with a Republican. Like if they're already a Republican, they're not going to defect over this. Even veterans, like you say, it's offensive. But however it might show up and come back, I don't see people, like, it's sad that
I think we should try to get 100%.
So many administration that comes in so many different forms.
Yeah, right.
And it's all not just veterans. I'm saying there were immigrant people that had the ability to vote, their families could vote or whatever, and they were voting for this administration, thinking that the goon squad was never going to show up. Right?
I mean, farmers voting for him, and then he welcomes in,
union people, and then he increased tariffs, and now nobody can make stuff.
Something happened on the tariffs today. I didn't get a chance to read that. What happened on the tariffs?
Okay, so are we done with the veteran bill thing, do you think? Or
I might swing back. I don't know.
Right, we might. Okay. So that's the story of the veteran bill. So the tariffs, Supreme Court, the real story is at the Supreme Court. Someone sued the White House. I don't know who was the plaintiff, but the White House administration was the defendants, and it made it up to the Supreme Court, and it was Trump used the Emergency Powers Act to enact all these tariffs within the first couple of months that he was in office, right?
Yeah.
He said he enacted that, which I guess the president like signs an order and says, this is happening. And he said fentanyl crisis and the immigration crisis were the country was under attack,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And so he had the right to impose tariffs on whatever, right? And so the Supreme Court was asked to take this up. And come to find out, the Emergency Powers Act that he instituted all of this from doesn't have the word tariff in it at all. And so even the conservative judges, it was a 6-3 ruling. So the Chief Justice and Neil Gorsuch and I think Amy Barry Conant or whatever. I think Coney Barrett. I think there was 3 moderate to conservative people that swung with the liberals.
Wow.
So that was a pretty decisive win in the as far as the Supreme Court goes of like a decision that it was illegal for him to do that.
So ramifications of that. Do all tariffs come off the books now? Is there like some kind of reimbursement process?
There you go. That was the thing was there's a bunch of money that's in a government bank account somewhere that was collected illegally.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
I mean, he's setting up other slush funds for himself, so I'm sure that's going to disappear into Trump's pocket somewhere.
I mean, I would say put it on the national debt, maybe. Like at least then everybody benefits from it. There's no shadiness about like I don't know how that works.
I don't know. Just put a down payment towards universal health care. How about that?
We could buy Greenland with it.
Jesus.
Everybody benefits from that, right? We said we needed to buy Greenland.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. For me, the Supreme Court, we've been throwing up red flags that it seems like not that they're corrupt, but that they're just aligned and that they weren't going to stop Trump from doing much of anything, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a step in a totally different direction for this court to say, hey, you can't do that. We didn't think that they were going to do that,
And I remember hearing Trump mention it like last week or something like that about the ruling at the Supreme Court. Has he responded yet? Or is just still too fresh?
He did respond and fire something off right away.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was
what you expect.
Something, I don't know. It was something offensive and him throwing a fit about
something.
So we'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it's crazy how his whatever news it is, like his spins on things is just insane to me. Like he was being questioned, I think he was in Air Force One about Epstein, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I've been completely exonerated," and like, he just throws out that information, knowing that his cult followers aren't gonna like fact check. They're not gonna go like actually look at anything. They're just gonna listen to what he says, and that's the gospel.
Yeah.
And he just keeps getting away with it, and it's just mind-boggling. Daily what daily what he gets away with is just mind-boggling.
Narrative, and it's that TV show producer kind of skill set of being on reality TV. Like he cares about ratings, right?
Yeah.
So he understands how to talk to people to get TV ratings. And in America, that's a big deal.
It sells. Yeah. I mean, the for all the complaining about the liberal left media and how it's all corporate, like Fox News has more viewers than any of them.
Yes.
And so for them,
Bill O'Reilly used to have the most popular show on TV.
Yeah.
Like 10 years.
Millions of people every night, would tune in. And so they just don't see their own hypocrisies, I guess. I don't even know what they are at this point.
Yeah.
But the next thing he's going to be looking for, when you talk about his constant hunt for ratings, we've been seeing a lot of chatter and movement in Iran and in America, our assets here in America. And so bombing of Iran is going to be probably pretty soon. Could be this weekend, could be after the Olympics. I was thinking after the Olympics just because like there's a decorum, but then you pointed out he doesn't have a great track record.
Well, within this Olympics, my point was he's the nobody's paying attention to this anymore, but they blew up 3 more drug boats down off the coast of Venezuela and killed like 11 people. and that brought the death toll in those drug boat situations up to like I don't know 83 or
Jesus.
like 100
Yeah.
something like right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a lot, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So and again, all of them have happened in the same fashion as the one that there's no interdiction. They're just like, oh, we think those have that one has drugs, blow it up. So that happened in the Olympics. So I don't see the decorum being observed, as far as military stuff. Because
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of wild that I hadn't heard about the latest drug boat
I know
things.
we mentioned on the show, I was like, I'm sure it's still happening, but we don't hear about it anymore. And then 3 days ago they're like blowing up drug boats. I'm like, of course they are.
But so it's going to happen soon.
Well, and let's remember what happened last time. He did a feint. Remember, he kind of faked the funk of like we're going to give him 2 weeks, and then 2 days later he blew him up, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, "There's a 10-day window for them to respond," and then he just blew him up, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to think there's going to be some bob and weave on this. He's like, we're going to strike them a limited strike in the next few days. That who knows what that means,
Right.
right?
And what's it been like because they had the big protest a few weeks ago where anywhere from thousands of people
Yes.
murdered to a few hundred, mostly students, or a good chunk of them students, like student age kids. Have the protests been sustained there to where like is the supreme leader still under as much duress as he was
I don't
a
think
few
so.
weeks ago?
I don't think so.
I
No,
didn't think so either. I thought it was
no.
kind of he squashed his piece.
Yeah, I think what this reaction is to is rebuilding and moving things around at some of the nuclear sites.
Hmm.
And so I think that's what's prompted this most recent headline. And yeah, the protests were what were threatening the situation 3 weeks ago, but that has definitely died down in the last like 10 days. I don't think that's going on anymore, but there's satellite imagery of them at like Natanz or whatever trying to open up the tunnels and get back in there, and
Yeah.
they're moving rocket type equipment and stuff around.
Yeah.
So that's all is just like, hey, we blew them up for a reason, man. Don't go back and try and build them again.
Well,
We can blow them up as many times as you want.
I think that kind of shows that we probably weren't as effective as we were hoping to
Must
be
not,
during that
it
first
must
one.
not have been because there'd be no reason to go and scoop it out if it's really just gone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We
Unless
got
you're trying to get maybe the plutonium out of there or whatever, uranium. Like if you're trying to actually harvest that radioactive material back out, if you
Yeah.
hadn't moved it, right?
Yeah.
But that'd be the only reason I think it'd be worth digging the hole back again is to try and get that stuff out because it's hard to get, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the problem for them is they don't have easy access to yellow cake, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just leave that down in the bomb shelter. You
Yeah.
gotta go retrieve it. So he's that's what's going on.
And so this attack on Iran, starting a new war, you can't end wars if you don't start them. So being the peace president he
Oh,
is,
sure.
he needs another war. He needs another victory in the peace column. So he has to start a war to end a
Mm-hmm.
war, and maybe bring them on board with their peace board for the
Mm-hmm.
Middle East. So
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, Iran should definitely be on the peace board
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had invited Putin at one point. So which whatever.
Well, it's funny how Europe pretty much all was like no, 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 no.
Yeah,
But you'll see like Morocco, Indonesia, I think was on the peace board. Just countries that really don't have any play in the Middle East
sure.
they're just paying the dues and sitting on this board and getting to control a piece of Gaza.
Mm.
It's like their little plan was to break it up into like 4 or 5 different pieces,
Yeah,
and have each one be kind of zoned and patrolled by other countries.
yeah,
Again, that don't exist in the Middle East. They don't have a huge presence in there. Maybe Morocco, but not so much there.
right.
But it's just now he's taking a $10 billion from the taxpayers and putting it
10
inside
billion, you said?
billion
Yeah.
with a B, putting it inside of a slush fund that he's going to control to build
To make
Gaza
stuff happen.
Yeah,
over in
yeah,
Gaza,
to rebuild Gaza.
Mm.
It's he's just blatantly stealing from taxpayers at that point, like because everybody's like, is this even legal?
Yeah, Congress needs to appropriate that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That sounds like something that Congress needs to appropriate.
Yeah, so
Power of the purse.
yeah, it's unconstitutional from the get-go.
Yeah.
But again, he just fires stuff off and people do it.
I I wonder. Well, you're right that like some of these countries just clearly want to get in the mix with Trump,
Hmm.
right? And so that's part of the reason why they want to participate, even if Gaza or being president in Gaza would have no benefit to them. But look at United Arab Emirates and Doha and those kind of places where they there's international businesses that want to be there just because it's a hub.
Hmm.
And so they don't have any presence in the Middle East, but they'll have an office in Dubai, right? And like there's a bunch of places like that.
Yeah.
So there could be some hope that like Tel Aviv could be a place like that, right? If it
Hmm.
wanted to be. So there may be some hope that whatever they build here is going to have that kind of beacon of attraction, and
Yeah.
so these little guys want to get in when it's cheap, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
It's cheap to get in now, and if it turns into something useful later on, then your investment's going to have some payback. But if it just turns into a shambles, you're going to get robbed, and nothing's going to get built, nothing's going to happen. Like that's just 50-50 that happens.
But it still just completely disregards the residents of Gaza.
Well, that's not ever been a part of the plan.
Yeah,
He was
right.
trying to move them all to Egypt, right? He was like,
That,
just squish them over to the other side of that wall. We love walls, and there's a great gate right down
yeah,
there with Egypt. And he was like, just squirt them off into Egypt and let them figure it out.
yeah.
That was Donald Trump's plan. He wanted to move all of them out, no Palestinians in Gaza. Like that was part of it, right?
So now part of this plan was to have 120,000, no, excuse me, 12,000 um like police force from like
Mm-hmm.
Egypt and Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
also like kind of patrolling the streets.
Yeah,
So
a militarized zone at
yeah,
that point.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Thousands of troops also,
yeah,
from Egypt and Jordan to be there to
yeah,
police it.
yeah.
But
To make sure people don't build new tunnels and like get the rocket
hmm,
systems back up, stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the intention of having a force on the ground. Yeah. But how long do you do that, right? I mean, it would take, I don't know, 20 years, right? You got to get a whole generation of people come and go
yeah,
so that a new generation of people are young or middle-aged adults that don't care. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So that's a 25-year long
yeah.
process right there.
Yeah, but the other places that you mentioned, like Dubai, like they built off into desert. Like they
Yeah.
built off a desert. Like they're building on people's homes now.
Well, there's nothing left in Gaza.
That yeah, the demo's been done.
Yeah.
But we're still just exacerbating the problem. Like they're not going to go away.
No.
Like the
Well, what
Palestinians
I
and
said
Hamas and
was
things
that
like that.
if
Like
you send them all to Egypt, they'll just swim from Egypt over there to kill
right.
people. Like they'll be like more bloodthirsty. And I'm not even saying that in
Yeah,
like a mean way. Like that's how terrorists or people that are willing to be an insurgent force. That's how you make them.
yeah,
They are generated by a process.
yeah,
And if you just took them all and said, hey, you had nothing to do with any of these attacks or the war. You were just a refugee the entire time, and you're an 18-year-old kid. What else is that person going to do,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
they're going to be totally ripe for the picking to go and become a terrorist or a jihadist or whatever, right? Like
yeah,
that's how those people get made. So you can make more enemies through stuff like that,
yeah,
and it's pretty easy. So I think the peace board, though, before the show, my take on it is it may be the early stages of like we know Trump doesn't like NATO. We know he doesn't really care about the UN, which I'm not a big UN fan either. I've mentioned on the show, but NATO I'm pretty okay with, right? So, but he's also willing to move borders by force in some degree, right?
yeah,
He's willing to allow other countries to do that. So he has no respect for international order from those big bodies that we look to like, hey, are you on our side and are we all moving in the same direction? So I see this peace board as a way to start an alternative, allies and axis kind of alignment across the world of like a new form of Western leadership and power that's under President Trump and the US versus us being part of the UN that's kind of meant to be the Western power, or NATO is definitely like the Western power bloc.
yeah,
He wants to just make a new clubhouse
yeah.
and decide who gets to play there, and he gets to be in charge,
It's a
right?
new like loyalty pacts
Yeah,
type
yeah,
things.
and I feel like that's a part of why some of these countries are showing up to the scene as well, because it's like, hey, if something ever goes down, I joined your clubhouse,
Yeah.
like help me out.
So
So
what's frustrating
why
though,
not do that from their perspective? You know what I'm
but we
saying?
already had that. We already had all of that when it comes to like when you look at the nuclear umbrella that we would provide for all those countries.
Sure, but like Morocco was not part of that, or Indonesia
Everybody
might
was
not
so,
be part of that.
like we took care of. We told everybody. We're
Yeah,
like do not make nukes. We got this.
Okay, sure. Did they feel that though? Though, you
Did
know what
that-
I'm saying?
yeah, we didn't
Do they
reiterate it.
believe
Yeah,
that? You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We let the marriage go stale.
Yeah, you know, like Indonesia's over here, like China could get busy, you know, in 30 years from now when they've taken over everything else.
Yeah,
We're here, you
yeah,
know, and so let's start buddying up to the people that don't like our enemies. Let's the enemies of our enemies are our friends, you
yeah.
know. So I'm just saying, there's some alignment there. I don't know that it's going to become, you know, the alternative to the UN, but it's definitely a way to set up a new Western power block, is what I see. You know,
I mean, if this was like a competent administration, but like I think like
I didn't say it's going to work. I'm saying the intention is there.
just trying to take this land, like it's not going to work. Like we like they've already taken it once, it didn't work. They keep pushing in, it's not working. Like it's just such a, I don't know, and I don't even know what
It's a
the
quagmire.
yeah. Turns out it's a mess over there.
Good thing, you know, I'm not, you know, Dr. Wilkinson, the Israeli relations specialist or something, because, like, yeah, this is an unsolvable problem, you know,
Yeah.
Kobayashi Maru or whatever.
Well, I'm not too familiar with their presidential elections and prime minister elections, but how much longer can Netanyahu be in charge? Like he's been there for 20 years already, right?
Yeah, he switches back and forth between senior roles,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah,
And so that's how he's not breaking any rules of like, hey, you've been doing this for too
yeah,
long, right? And then they also dissolve and rebuild their government every now and then, you know, and not kind of the way that like other parliamentary governments do. Like they actually change the constitution sometimes when that happens.
hmm.
That's happened
Yeah,
in Netanyahu's span of existence in power there. So never he doesn't have to leave, you know, like you know, and he's been investigated and criminally investigated by his own, you know,
yeah,
their Supreme Court or whatever, and their parliament. That's happened more than once, though. Is what I'm saying, right?
yeah.
Like he's the Teflon Don of Israel, you know, like he's like, you guys think I'm leaving? Like,
Yeah, just does whatever he wants.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and the leaders like that, the Putins, Netanyahu's, G's,
mm-hmm.
I think those are all folks that Trump looks up to, and I'd be interested to
Oh,
see if
he's for sure
he's
a
mentioned
fan of
because he's
Netanyahu.
mentioned the switcheroo thing where where like Putin and Medvedev did their little switch.
Oh yeah,
He's mentioned that before about a ways to stay in
oh
power.
yeah.
Um, we keep seeing him at rallies, getting the 4 more years chance, stuff like that. Do you think there's any chance that he actually runs?
Somebody, oh, my sister said, I think that Trump 2028 hat is saying that maybe Don Jr. is going to try and run, and you know they're gonna pull out Don Jr. or Ivanka, right,
I would
and pull
love
them
that.
off the stage, right? Let's go get Ivanka and let her take this forward, you know.
Well,
That
that would be fun. I'd vote
that
for Ivanka over
yeah, I
over
was like, you know what?
Eric or
I
Don.
said, I said, if this was maybe 20 years from now or 15, 20 years from now, and Donald Trump had, you know, sadly passed on to the next life, and Ivanka was still around, if she showed up and was kind of her own person, I wouldn't hang the albatross of Donald Trump on her neck. I would evaluate her as a candidate
Yeah,
just to see. I mean, yeah, she's part of the apparatus as the world stands right now. But
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If it was like 20 years from now, I'd give her a look. You
yeah,
know, I'd be like, what is she talking about? So
yeah. A lot.
why not?
Like I like I think she's more intelligent than
Yes,
Don Jr. and Eric.
for sure.
Like so. Yeah, I think she is kind of the brains, and that's why she's pulled out of a lot of
Listen,
things.
there's nothing going on in this administration.
Yeah.
Her and Kushner both are like way off in the
Well,
back corner.
Kushner's doing his $1 billion deals in the Middle
I
East.
mean, yeah, he's
Yeah.
on the
So
peace board for sure.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah, he's not gone, but he's not in the spotlight at all.
Yeah.
He's not at the White House, like
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Not
So
like special advisors like
yeah,
they
he's
were
not doing
last
that.
time.
So
Yeah, I wonder if they still got their clearances because they had to like push
oh
through his
yeah,
security clearance last time because he got denied it, and yeah, Trump just
because
pushed it through.
he's no, I mean he's Israeli, right? Like he's dual citizenship, right? But I'm sure that's why they were like,
Well,
you
so
got way too much ties in a foreign
have you heard
country.
about the Tulsi Gabbard thing that got locked up in a safe because somebody brought her an intel report,
Okay,
like a whistleblower report,
okay,
and she did not act on it. She like locked it up in her
yeah,
office. She said she didn't lock it up in her office. She said that's just where I put it. But it didn't take any action on it. The
mm,
report was that there was creditable SIGINT that showed person in Trump's orbit talking directly to Russia.
Mhm.
And that information with people and everything like that was taken to Gabbard, and she just buried it,
Mhm.
did not act on it. And so the whistleblower came out again and through other channels. Yeah, I think that's when you started hearing the media, because it was like it's been over a year since this has gone on to. That's when the media started saying, "Oh, there's something that being so detrimental that's being covered up, is being locked up, blah blah blah." And it comes to find out that there's somebody in Trump's tight circle directly communicating with Russia, and our director of intelligence decided to bury that.
Maybe they're authorized.
I see some
You
flags.
See what I'm saying? Like, maybe that person is authorized, and what they are saying is military deception. That is an intelligence method, right? It's counterintelligence method, right? Like, let Russia think they do have somebody that's right in the inner circle. And if it's compartmented, then the people who find it go, "Oh," and they throw up the flag, and you go, "Yeah, that's we're in on that," right?
Yeah.
That's a way that we back channel false information to mess up the way that they make decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible, right?
It's not impossible.
It's kind of like saying the somebody figured out the tail number of some spooky plane, and they're like, "Oh man, now I can see the whole operation." Like, yeah, but you weren't supposed to see that,
Right, but it's usually not the director of national intelligence that would come in and stop that whistleblower report, or
correct,
and then take it and lock it in a safe.
Yeah.
There's some other flags there that need to be looked into.
Sure,
and Gabbard has
going
tons.
Super devil's advocate. Right? I'm saying there's a technical channel where this makes sense. Of like gets reported, doesn't get acted on because this is a planned operation. So it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's.
You're a conspiracy theorist guy. This isn't even that conspiratory, right?
Oh no, this is to have somebody talking like straight back channels to.
That's counter intel. Like we send a couple hundred people a year through schools to do that kind of stuff. So.
Well, do better because they got caught.
But they got caught by our own people, is what I'm saying. Like, that's fine if you know what I'm saying. If the SIGINT people are that good and they're like, "Hey, we found it,"
no,
then you tell them.
There's so much.
You got to tell the SIGINT people at that point. You do. You have to read them on and go like, "Hey, ta-da! Now shut up."
But there's so many other red flags throughout Tulsi Gabbard's career about being a Russian asset. So for her to like be directly involved with covering up something like this is just it's just another example of there's just no accountability in this administration at all.
Like a supervillain.
Exactly. Just another one of the characters.
Doing this kind of stuff,
another one of the characters. Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Tulsi. Like, because she just looks the part, man. She does. So,
because
I like Tulsi.
She's, is she a Republican now? I know she was a Democrat for a long time, but like kind of was one of those.
She must be at this point, right? I mean, she's in Donald Trump's cabinet, so who cares what her voting affiliation is? Like, it doesn't even matter, right? She's in the orbit, right? Now, she's also the, black-headed stepchild of, of like, he's mad at her most of the time. And she's been given some stupid tasks to cover down on that, like, for the most part, are irrelevant. They're giving her busy work. She's a cabinet member, and they're giving her busy work and keeping her out of the inner circle. They're not briefing her on military operations. She doesn't know when the drug boats are happening. Yeah. And she's the director of national intelligence. Well,
and they're and like I think we mentioned a while ago that they're using CIA assets too.
I know, that's what I'm saying. She's in charge of that. Some of that decision making comes from her authorities. Yeah. And she's not being included in the military commander operations on purpose. The Department of War is saying, do not include the DNI, right? Like, because the administration has said, don't talk to the Gang of Eight, right? Like, we are worried about leaks. So don't talk to anybody about this. One or two people with the president and Pete Hegseth are the only people, and then they talk to the commander. And nobody else in the intelligence community that isn't directly going to be on the plane pulling triggers, they're not involved, right? Like, that's what's been going on for the last 8 months or so.
Yeah. So again, just all the checks and balances and safety nets to prevent abuses of power. Yeah,
because the Gang of Eight is a bipartisan group of senators and House members that get the most secret, opportunity to buy in on things that nobody else gets to hear about. And they've been totally roped out. So, yeah.
Yeah,
no congressional oversight on this stuff is what that means. And that's what I'm saying. It's been going on for a long time now.
that's
So,
crazy. Yeah, we definitely need to get control of the ship again.
well,
Like
that's why I was saying the Supreme Court thing was, to me, a really, we talk about small victories, right? Like there's some indication that the system could do what it's supposed to do at
yeah,
certain times.
yeah.
Like
Well,
it's not
even
not all hope is
yeah,
lost.
even the VA halting the
Mhm.
ruling.
Yeah.
Again, that's another one of those things where your voice matters, and
Mhm.
the immediate and strong pushback from everywhere
Mhm.
made something
Did
happen.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now to make sure it doesn't slip
So
in
now,
somewhere
yeah,
else.
and I guess people will be watching now. So
Yeah.
yeah, those veteran service organizations are going to be scrutinizing. They already do that anyway,
Hmm.
but man, they're going to be super on the lookout for that kind of stuff sneaking back in somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be 11th hour pork barrel. Pencil in
Yeah,
right out on the floor. Do
yeah.
you accept this amendment to this bill, amendment number 29? Yeah, we gotta
Dang.
go home, man. We gotta go home. Like we've been here all weekend.
Yeah,
That's what's gonna happen. If somebody tries to bring it back, that's what's gonna happen. So
yeah, yeah. Because one that hasn't slipped back in. It was just kind of popped into my head from a couple of years ago. Is they were trying to sell, or I know it was just last year. Jesus, when they were trying to sell public lands. Yeah,
mhm.
and that was another one that got big pushback. Mike Lee was a senator from Utah.
Yeah,
Actually got that one right where he pushed back and got that halted. And I haven't seen it go back into any bills since then.
sure.
But it's one of those things where people, if you use your voice, it can make things happen. So yeah,
Well,
he
I want
was.
to wrap up on something because we forgot to talk about it last week, but went to the Capitol.
Oh
Didn't talk
yeah,
about that.
that's right.
So 2 weeks ago, we said, "Hey, Dick's going to the Capitol with a couple of other folks from the CDVC." And there we were. So it was me and Jen Cowish, who's the group leader right now, and Dave Pomeroy. And they're both from Boulder, so they didn't have as far to go because the Capitol's pretty much on the north end of Denver up there. So um, it wasn't a big deal though. Like it was actually a really easy drive. It was early enough in the morning that there wasn't any traffic.
Yeah.
So great day, well attended, lots and lots of people in the lobby where we were at. Like
And what was the day? It was
it was Veterans Military Appreciation Day,
okay.
is what it was.
Yeah.
Military Appreciation Day. So active duty veterans, whatever, military families, all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Cool.
right? So there was probably 10 different veteran organizations there, from the VFW to people working on specific types of legislation that aren't like necessarily in a bigger organization. There was veterans justice support group there
Okay.
that's involved in the court where I'm at,
Yeah.
So, it was a big, wide smattering of different types of interest groups there. And then the legislators were on the floor, which we went into the gallery and watched a good portion of the session that morning. And they did all kinds of things to honor. There's like 10 people in the state legislature that are veterans, and so they honored them. They brought them all up, showed them from pictures from when they were in uniform and everything, and then they called other guests up, that weren't part of the house there, and like congratulated people, things
Mhm.
like that. I think somebody re-enlisted on the floor or something like that.
Okay.
So just all kinds of
That's
tribute to
cool.
the
Yep.
military
Yeah.
stuff. The highlight of the day was early in the morning. They had all these speakers not out on the floor, but just kind of in the lobby area where we were
Okay.
at, which was a big space.
Like a rotunda
Yeah,
thing.
big outer rotunda
Yeah.
thing. And so we were out there, and they set up just like a podium at one end and had different people that come and speak there.
Mhm.
And everybody just crowded in down there. And that was right by where our table was at. So we got a lot of people coming through that way. But the right before that happened, the 2-star general, who's the adjutant for the Colorado National Guard, came over and talked to us for a while.
Yeah.
He came to the table and just was like, "Hey, what do you guys do?" And because he was going to be like the first speaker down at that podium, so he got there 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
And
That's what they do. Yeah.
yeah, he got there 30 minutes early and just came down and bebopped and talked to us.
Yeah.
And so we talked to him for about 10 minutes, and he, of course, didn't know that we existed because nobody does yet, right? And what we were able to talk to him about was he's technically a cabinet member, but people in the legislature will write up and propose bills and not run them through the governor's staff. And
Yeah.
so he doesn't get a chance to see bills that are written that specifically have language in them about military service members. He doesn't get very much opportunity to review or weigh in on that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so there has been times where certain legislation would be counterproductive to his mission. It might seem well intentioned by the legislature,
Right.
but if they were educated about whatever they're trying to change,
Yep.
then they might understand why it's a problem.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get a chance to do that very well, right? Like it's just not happening for whatever reason. And so we kind of told him, not really sure how we would get involved with that, but this is the kind of thing that this group can do.
Yeah.
Since you cannot be directly political and you're probably not supposed to be reaching out directly to Congress or senators or House people in the state level, they have to come to you. You're not really supposed to go to them, but we can,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like we can have conversations with you and then have conversations with them and be a liaison kind of force
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
That's perfectly in line with what we're here to do,
Mhm.
right? We will have relationships with those folks. So maybe they'll come to us
Right.
and tell us what they want to work on.
Yeah.
And then that gives us the chance to we don't have to ask them, do you care if we go and talk to the general? It doesn't matter,
Right.
right? Like we just take that upon ourselves and say, hey, we got 10 bills that are going to be submitted this next session. And, here they are. What do you think, right? Or
Right.
here's what we think is going to be helpful or not helpful. Might be a way to do something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's great that we're, whenever we go to these things, there's always an appetite.
Mhm.
Like they always want to, get opinions, get, feedback, and
Mhm.
just know kind of what vets are thinking overall. I get to ask that all the time. Just, kind of give me a vibe check on what things people are thinking
Mhm.
on X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So
And we did get some of the head tilts of like Democratic veterans, like it sounds like an oxymoron. And for most of the people in the room there, it would have been an oxymoron.
Yeah.
It was a very conservative showing there
Mhm.
that morning, I feel like, right?
Interesting.
It was, felt like it was a pretty red crowd,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not in a bad way. Just,
No,
I
but
mean,
it just kind of falls
yeah.
in line with that stereotype that
Yeah.
and then when people are shocked that there are Democrats
Yeah.
out there, but
Mhm.
there's more and more coming out every
But
day.
there was not a Republican Veterans Caucus or anything. There's not one,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
there's no counterpart for us over on the red side, and so everybody has to work through other organizations like the VFW or American Legion,
Yeah,
and then those are the types of nonprofits that aren't able to back certain candidates or
right.
work directly with party members, right?
Yeah,
Like they're not allowed to do that,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so it's a great way to have your voice added to the roll of 10,000 people that said this VA rule is a bad idea,
Hmm.
but you can't go and have the same freedom to just knock on the door and go tell somebody what's up, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
you're limited in being able to do that.
Yeah,
So it's I'm not saying it's not effective. It's just a different way to get it done, and that tends to be what the resource that's available for the more conservative people is those channels, right?
yeah,
But it keeps them at a little bit of an arm's length, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. That's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for what we can do with it. That there's so many things that even down in Mexico that you helped out with
Mhm.
that we can bring up here. So yeah, the more folks we're meeting and talking to, the bigger we can get our group.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what the website is right now. I'll try to get that into the description. It's like
Sure.
Colorado Dems or Vet Dems or something like that.
Mhm.
But the more people we can get on, so that when we go knock on those doors, we can say we've heard from
Mhm.
X amount of people.
Yes.
It matters. So
Yep.
yeah, that's good on you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I was glad we got it done. And I'll go back, next year. Do it again. So
Cool.
yeah.
Right on. Well, I think that's going to be it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. This was Left Face. I'm Adam Giller with Dick Wilkinson.
Mhm.
Want to take us home?
Take us out. Let's see. I don't. I feel like I just don't have it, man.
You don't have
I
it?
don't have any music. Yeah, I had the first round just wore me out. Yeah. You guys, whistle a tune. Whistle a tune to yourself.
Yeah, whatever's in your
Yeah.
head, just let it go.
Yeah, fill in the blanks there. Just choose your own adventure.
All right,
Catch
take
y'all
care.
next time.
Take care, everyone.